Doing another interview with myself. I used to do these like monthly or quarterly when I was doing a lot of YouTube content, but now it's transitioning over to X and doing a lot more spaces. Just haven't really put much efforts or resources to this side of things. So I don't even want to film this. I don't even know what to talk about yet. I don't exactly have topics, but figured I should be doing one of these at least once a year at the absolute least. And as often as every month or every quarter. I think this is generally a good thing for anybody in the world to do as well. This is pretty much how I got my career started, is when it was 2020, I think, during COVID. I was like, okay, I need some kind of creative outlet to get out all of my thoughts in my brain. And I'll just start, like, you start ranting to the wall sometimes, or you're like talking in your head in the shower or something like that. And I figured, okay, well, I'll just pull up my camera, I'll just start recording and see if anything good comes of it. Best case scenario, it takes off. Worst case scenario, I get these thoughts out of my head, and that's not so bad. And so that was kind of my thoughts, and I recorded those on YouTube. I was posting them, getting like 10 views. Really nothing was coming from it, but it got the ball rolling. And it is something I kept up with throughout my whole career on YouTube. And I was doing NFT content, I was doing crypto content, and I kept these like monthly or quarterly check-ins, I remember, and they were really good just to regulate, figure out where I'm at mentally, get it out of my head, rather than just swirling in circles and circles and circles. I remember I heard something, and they were talking about how you will not think of very many new things. You will pretty much just mold over the same thoughts and the same conclusions you came to, the same whatever you've got will just continue to circulate because your brain, that's just what it does. And so, yeah, probably every 4 months or so, I start to get itchy, and I feel like I need to get these thoughts out of my head, and I just have it for like the last couple of years because we've been grinding. We've just been on the grind. Like, probably one of the last times I recorded this was in the depths of the bear market, and the market's like basically been in full swing since for like the last year-ish, maybe even longer. In terms of business, it's really ramped up in the last year and a half. And when I joined Wolf in the beginning of 2024, I was quickly thrust into just go mode. It was basically an opportunity for me to grow up, get a better self-discipline, and make money, and see if we can build a business here with the guys at Wolf Financial. And so I took the opportunity and said, let's see if we can do this. And in short, all those things happened. Self-discipline got a lot better. Was able to grind out a bunch of work, make good money, learn. It was a really cool, and still is a really cool situation that we've got. And then still doing the content with Near Protocol. Really in this year have found myself to be way more of a Bitcoiner than I ever even realized could be possible. Had some moments where I was like, oh my gosh, this is the apex asset ever. And it got me thinking a second ago when I had transferred over from YouTube to X. I have a video, I gotta find it, and I was doing a video just like this, and like 30 minutes in or something, I said, you know what, I'm pretty sure X is gonna take over. Elon, this guy, took over the company, and I don't know, I feel like in a world where everyone's just losing their accounts and being censored 24/7, a platform like X must exist, and there just isn't one that's gonna take it's already popular. And so when he bought it, I was like, this is probably going to be the move. So anyways, the last year and a half, I really haven't spent too much effort creating content for myself about things I want to create about. My enthusiasm to be curious is relatively low, and I don't think that's a surprise because my job is literally show hosting. So every day, anywhere from 2 to 6 hours straight, I'm doing spaces, I'm doing streams and things like that, and a majority of my job is to build relationships with people and get their thoughts on things. They come on the shows, we talk to them, so it's a lot of moderating. And just like any job, things start to get monotonous a little bit, especially if it's a daily show and we're doing multiple a day, multiple a day. And we have multiple Bitcoin shows a week. We have basically every day some kind of market talk trading space where we talk about the market. And it's the same thing. You're rehashing over the same things over and over and over again. And so I think you go through little phases where you're motivated, the price is good, things are happening, things are fun, there's things to do. And then other periods in the market where it's just boring, there's nothing going on, Bitcoin's just ranging, there's nothing going on in DeFi that's relatively interesting. The altcoins are just kind of meandering around this cycle a lot. And so it's been a very interesting, different cycle. I was very much in the know of what was going on in DeFi and what was going on in NFTs, the more degen sides of the ecosystems in crypto. This past cycle, this one that we're in, has really been a Bitcoin-focused one. And when Trump took over a few months ago, I basically liquidated all of my altcoin positions, jumped into Bitcoin, and was like, this is going to be the move. I'm not going to play these games. I'm just going to buy the Apex asset. This is the one. This is the chosen one. And converted most of my net worth into cash and a little bit of Bitcoin. And then recently, converted a good chunk of my net worth into Bitcoin and said, this will be the moment that I either will look back on and say that was dumb, or I will say this is potentially the pivot moment. And I said this back in 2020 when I quit my jobs, was like, this is going to be the moment I look back on in 5, 10, 20 years and say this will either be the biggest mistake I ever made, or it won't matter, or it'll be the best decision ever made. It ended up being the start to this whole entire content journey 4 years ago. And at that point, I didn't even know really what crypto was going to be about. Had no clue I was going to be doing content on YouTube. So anyways, that's kind of how it was to me for this year. So I haven't really felt the desire to express my thoughts, mostly because I'm the one hosting the shows. People aren't really there for my opinion, which is fine. I'm not an expert. I don't even know if I have strong opinions, because you're just observing what's going on and then saying, oh, this is my thoughts. And half the time we're wrong now. And half the time the prices don't move at all based on the news. Whereas previous cycles, you could read out the news, 3, 4, 5 weeks early on CoinMarketCal and genuinely front run the market. And you could genuinely make predictions and things would happen because all coins are moving. Versus now, the Bitcoin miners, doesn't matter how kind of positive the news is going to be, the Bitcoin miners, the public stocks don't move. And with the altcoins, Bitcoin runs up, altcoins don't always follow. They usually do, but they're not having that outperformance that we've always seen because Bitcoin dominance has just been all over. And it's been a Bitcoin run for this past year and a half, as it should be. I mean, it's the only scarce one. It's the only one with a 21 million hard cap. It was the only one dropped. And the founder walked away. There's no CEO. It's timeless. There's no CEO. So like this asset should, if anything, go up over time in 100 years. That's not the same. You can't really say the same for any company like Tesla, Microsoft. You don't know who will be at the helm. You don't know if they'll change their mind halfway through. Bitcoin's pretty much good for a couple things. It's good for freedom, autonomy to move and transact freely. So you have money that can't be frozen, moved, questioned. There's no Bitcoin wallet that's going to ask you about your details or why you're taking out Bitcoin or why you're selling or buying Bitcoin. You're just buying the Bitcoin. There's no third party, which is so nice. And that is becoming more apparent, I think, over definitely the next few years. It's going to be more apparent. And I think there's going to be small little changes, small little things that happen where people will start to get little hints. It's like when COVID happened and people, the little hint to take was like, oh my God, they shut down the whole country. The world, actually. They shut down the whole world. Huh? They did what? What do you mean, how? Well, it was a frenzy. Things were happening. We didn't know what was going to go on. We didn't know if we needed to keep everyone indoors. So we just made decisions. Things just happened. There were riots everywhere. It was craziness. And I think there will be moments like that for Bitcoin over the next forever, but especially in the next 10 years where people will start to be like, dude, what the hell? Like, isn't there any money or any asset that I can trust and feel good about? And I think that will become Bitcoin because, rich people now, you can buy houses and continue to drive up the price of normal homes because you keep buying homes because you don't have anywhere else to put your money. That's going to go up over time. So rich people keep buying new homes. People who are just don't have tons and tons of money now can't afford a home because they keep buying all of them. And that's crazy. I think there will definitely be, like I just saw Trump said, we're going to give $1,000 to every single person who is like in their 20, I don't even know. Like if you're born in these like certain years, like you get $1,000. I was like, what does that mean? Like who is giving you that? Where's the money coming from? Like the taxes? Like are we just printing more of it? It's just weird. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way we don't enter a world where we don't default on the US dollar. And, I think there's a world where we have multiple currencies that are effectively options to use, right? And Bitcoin, I think, will be one of them. I think the stable coins are going to be huge, but I do think that the CBDCs a central bank digital currency is in the future for basically everybody. And my only goal before that happens is to have enough wealth or accumulated myself into a good enough position to say no if and when it comes, like, yeah, it'd be great to get an extra. If they were like, hey, AI's making everything's hard, it's really hard to work out there, we get it. We want to give everyone out there 2.5, 3 grand. 2.5, 3 grand. That's definitely livable for me. If it's anything over $1,500, that's full time for me. I can make life work on $1,500. I've done it on 900, I think. It can be done if you're single and you're willing to live in like a box in the middle of nowhere. So I'm just thinking like the average person with a family, and they say, hey, we'll give you an extra couple grand a month. Dude, everyone's going to say yes to that. And then it will begin. The little social experiments. The, hey, in an effort to whatever, on Sundays, there's a limit. You can't spend this much on Sundays. It's just precaution. And then it's like, hey, Sundays and Tuesdays, actually, you can't. And then it's, hey, if you've gotten a ticket in the last 6 months, you now can't whatever with your money. Insert anything. Essentially just, hey, we're going to control you because we can. And that puts us in a paradigm where I haven't even read the book, but apparently in the book, Brave New World, we walk ourselves into our own graves because we're just like, oh yeah, it's the next thing, do the next thing. Hey, let's do more social media. Hey, let's do, make another car. Whatever the thing is, we walk ourselves into the worst place ever. Not forced into it in a 1984 George Orwell style, but we just mind numb ourselves into that space where things are objectively worse. And I don't know where we're headed. All I know is there seems to be no great place to put your money aside from Bitcoin. Yes, there's gold, there's silver, but gold's inflationary. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's stable except for the fact that it's inflationary by 2% a year. And it's better than the dollar, but it's not perfect. It's not great. There's a better option. The better option is Bitcoin. It's not even close. I'm struggling to find a better asset that makes more sense than Bitcoin. So I've converted a good amount of my net worth into Bitcoin, more than I've probably ever thought I would. But I figured I would be more upset if this was to go to $1 million or $10 million and be like, why didn't I just risk a little bit more at 26 years old? I'd be way more upset at that than, have missed my opportunity than lose all my money believing in something that is real. It's not some story sold to you by a CEO or a DeFi project that's promising an airdrop. That's not what this is. This is Bitcoin. It's hard money. It's sound money. And this is not a scam. So I'm like, okay, this looks really promising. It's the best performing asset in like 2 decades. I should take a chance here and put in more money potentially that I'm afraid to lose here and see what happens. If it goes against me and we're trading at $50,000 again for Bitcoin, I'm down, I guess. But that's sort of the trade-off that I'm at mentally. And in the world of working in crypto, my main goal here was to be able to work in the land of innovation, make good money, do content. That was pretty much it. Like, I don't really have like a very specific set of things that need to happen for me to be happy. But I have noticed that, now that I've uncovered the thing I was supposed to uncover, it's like I checked off I beat the gym master or whatever. And I know being crypto, like, you're here to make money, figure out what you're doing here, and unlock the secrets to wealth is kind of like what everyone's here for. And I feel like I did that. I am full-time in the industry, have been since 2021. And I figured, like, Bitcoin is what you buy. It's just, you make money, put it into Bitcoin. There's no more strategy. There's no need for more strategy. So it's kind of like, that's the one thing I wrestle with on a day-to-day basis of, why are we here all day, every day, if all you need to know is that Bitcoin is going up? Why bother saying all these things and doing all these spaces and marketing for all these companies? That's probably the one thing I wrestle with the most working in the industry of crypto still, is like, am I actually giving back to this world in any capacity? So that's probably the one thing I struggle with, because I do have a degree in public health, and I have thought about, probably still do, a few times a month, of like, should I be working in that industry? Should I be in healthcare? Should I leave everything that I've built and all the relationships I've built and everything I've grinded for the last few years? Should I just leave it all? Should I go part time and have this be a nighttime or morning type hobby? What is the play? And so that's kind of probably my only main big time like existential crisis struggle type thing of like, okay, if I can make enough money, work in public health, do part time lurking on Twitter or whatever, or hosting spaces, should I leave the full-time gig in crypto and just continue to buy Bitcoin and work a different job? So that is something I continuously struggle with, because in the depth of the bear market, when I almost left crypto, because I was convinced that there was nothing good left in the industry. I had not found Bitcoin yet, so that maybe that's why. That's kind of one of the main things I struggle with. Like maybe because I came back and I found, hey, there's Bitcoin. This is the thing actually, not all the projects and stuff, which is fun, but it's not the thing you're here to stay for. It's not the thing you're going to put your money in for 100 years. So my constant struggle was like, okay, was that the thing I was supposed to come back for? And then go work in the normal world and stuff. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, we're doing something really cool with Wolf. I really like the people and the guys that we've got and the guys and the girls we have on the team, especially the core people who have been here since 2024. They're great. And I think they potentially have the possibility to grow this company to whatever, 1,000x what it is today. I think it's definitely possible. I just don't know. I've been in the business world now for 4 or 5 years-ish. I've learned so much, honestly, and it's been cool being on a startup. I guess you could call Wolf a good startup, but when I first started Wolf, we had literally too much business. Like we were doing really well at Wolf Financial, so much so that we had to create a second channel to have another avenue for doing content and promoting companies and working with them and working with partners and stuff. We needed another channel that was specific to crypto. So it's fun and it's cool watching these companies build. It's cool watching companies 1,000x our size operate, and sometimes speak to these company founders because of our position in the finance world. We have pretty good connections, and for the most part, we can talk to someone if we want to. And so that's been interesting watching them. It's been interesting seeing people online and meeting them. Like at the Bitcoin conference this past year, like a couple weeks ago, I met Brian Jung, who's a big time crypto YouTuber. He was one of the first guys I ever watched. And he really helped build out my base for crypto knowledge and understanding and the foundations for that. So him and a few others I've met and connected with on X. That's been crazy cool. Now it's just part of the game, and I get that. I think my main existential crisis will be, I think, and I'm pretty confident I will continue to make money and build a career no matter what industry I choose. So which one am I supposed to do? I know for a fact if I was to leave Wolf, it would be like leaving a sure bet. I know Wolf will do well. I know they'll continue to make money. It's like the polar opposite decision I'm stuck with when I was in the bear market and I almost left, which was like, dude, I'm making no money. I'm broke. This isn't going for me. I don't know if there's anything here. Maybe I should just leave the industry, go work in healthcare. I've always wanted to work in the hospital. Maybe that should be what I do. Versus now, it's like total opposite. It's like, money's good. I understand that Bitcoin is what I need to buy. I need to make more money. I need to buy more Bitcoin, continue to build this business, and make more content, all those things. But I'm faced with the same existential question of like, is this where I should spend my time? Part of the reason I stayed in crypto is because I found the Lord, literally. And I thought to myself, if I leave and people who are chasing the Lord leave, then this industry gets much worse, because now there's nobody who even answers to someone. Crypto will get exponentially worse if nobody in the industry believes in God and thinks that they're the God of their own universe. Then there's no one holding any moral authority anywhere. It's just people change their mind. And that's a majority of our industry. So it's like, okay, do I leave this industry, or do I stay and contribute what I can and try and be a good force as much as I can in the industry? Should I do that instead? So part of me is still working with that. It's like my answer is like, yes, I should stay in the industry. should you stay somewhere because the industry is going to work? The plan worked. 2021, when I started making content, I said I'm going to stick to educational, and I'm going to stick to the podcast, and I will make the type of content that I would want to watch, and eventually someone I would want to work with will see these things, and I'll work with them. That was kind of like the overall goal. It was never, I want to build $1 billion business, I want to be a millionaire, whatever. It was never any of those things. That's, I think, why I struggle with these types of questions. You hear about all these things like the golden handcuffs. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but so I had this pulled up on my computer here, and it was just like random questions you can ask yourself. And it was, what beliefs did you grow up with that you've had to unlearn? And being in this industry and getting way more close and intimate with big companies than I ever thought I would, because we host financial spaces. Dude, I didn't realize, like, we're actively in this game right now. Like working at Wolf, we are deeply ingrained in the game. Like, we are working with some of these companies who are all out there on TV. And, like with Wolf Financial, we're partnered with, we work with Robinhood. We work with the New York Stock Exchange. We work with lots of ETFs. Like, we're deeply in the game, especially in the stock world. And with crypto and Bitcoin, we host some of the biggest spaces in the world, that are daily spaces, and we host like some of those bigger shows. Like, they're a lot of fun. And so we're deeply in the game. And so I guess I've been surprised that the companies that are rolling around with millions of dollars of valuations, they've raised a bunch of money and stuff, it doesn't mean that they've got something that some other person doesn't. It doesn't mean that they are geniuses, know what they're talking about. I mean, at Wolf, we've got like everyone here is doing it for the first time, and we're doing really well. And in my opinion, we're a way bigger. We're doing really well. And I would say if we walked into a room with other very competent individuals, we'd fare pretty well there. I bet there are companies who make way more money than us who that is not the situation. And I think that's important. I think it matters, especially long term. I think your core competency as a human being and as a business person eventually will outweigh anything else. If you're naturally curious, you want to make money, and you're competent, you continue to be competent, and you look at your things that you suck at and you get better at them, you work on your self-awareness a little bit. I guess I'm not shocked that I'm in the game, but I guess I'm just remarking that I'm in the game, because nothing feels like it's changed. I'm still posting on Twitter or X, and I'm still just posting random things from like my cell phone. And so nothing really changed. I never like got a new Wall Street job and had to, buy a new house in New York or New Jersey. And, there's a new route to work. There's a new boss I have to, move departments for. There's none of like that. There's none of that stuff. And so like growing in the world of the online social media and marketing and crypto world is a really interesting position to be in, because you could go from like not really anyone to someone huge and famous joins your space one day, to now every week someone new and famous is cool is coming to your spaces, and you're like, nothing changed though. Like, you're just still hosting spaces on your phone in this room, whatever. It's still the same process. And I guess that's been like an interesting thing to observe this last cycle, is that there's no reason to have anything like imposter syndrome, especially once you find out. Like, there are people who are making money, good money, who are like, you're like, bro, dude, how are you making money? And they're profitable. You're like, brother, what? You're one accident away from this whole thing coming down. But that's just the reality of the world, I found out in this industry. And it's also been interesting, learning more about Bitcoin, and, thankfully swallowing that orange pill recently. And now I look at everyone else who's got way more money than me, companies, nation states, governments, and I'm like, holy crap, dude. These MFers try and buy Bitcoin, this asset is going far. What would my 18-year-old self think of who you are today? Ooh. I don't think my 18-year-old self probably would have conceived anything of the sort, because at 18, I pretty much was just in the mindset of make it to college soccer, and I did. And I was not thinking about money. Money is, I think the reason I struggle with all these existential questions is because I'm not that motivated by money. I just don't want to be broke. And so growing up, I was not an entrepreneur. I was not going to do lemonade stands, trying to make money. I was playing soccer because I wanted to play college soccer. And then in college, I wanted to get the best body ever in the bodybuilding world. And so that was kind of my focus. And content followed. It was always content that followed. It was never just making money for the sake of making more money. And it still isn't. I'm aware that I need to, and it's a core necessity, and I want more because I want to take care of my family eventually. But I'm not like, I don't know. It doesn't, like, the money itself isn't like that great to me. It's just kind of like, it's whatever. So I don't think my 18-year-old self, I'm not sure what I would think of me right now. I guess I would be shocked that I've been able to make some money and potentially be surprised at the industry. I'll be honest, I don't think I have, the chasms I've had to cross to get where I am today in terms of understanding even the landscape of what I'm doing, I wouldn't be able to explain that to my 18-year-old self because I wasn't really locked in like that. I wasn't paying attention. I was just mindlessly watching soccer videos on YouTube and making them myself and trying to replicate something like that. Because right now, like, I would have to explain to my 18-year-old self what Bitcoin is, what money is, why I'm even interested in the topic at all. And I guess he would be hyped. My 18-year-old self would be hyped that I'm not working in some desk job that I did my senior year of college, where I realized this is why everyone's brain dead all the time. I mean, this 9 to 5 was soul draining. And I only did like a few weeks of it or something in my internship. And I remember thinking, oh my, this is brutal. Dude, I was doing half days. I only did a few weeks or a few months. And so I would say I'm happy and hyped that I'm working online. But the only thing I would say to that 18-year-old self is it doesn't feel like the way you think it is way more work than you think it is. And it sometimes can be harder to put in that work because you're tired. It's just a lot of work, dude. It's way more work than I thought. And it's way less work than I thought. If I was actually using every moment of my day as effectively as I needed to be and just pumping out content, I'd be so much further along probably. It's just tiring. It's hard to do. You have so many things you could do that you end up not doing any of them. And so if I was to create a question here on things I need to work on for my next video or my next check-in, whatever, or video next year or in 3 years or in 5 years, it would be like, okay, if there's one thing we can figure out that I've gotten exponentially better at this year, in the last year and a half, joining Wolf, but not good enough, it is locking in on just getting locked in. It's, can you sit down for 4 hours and actually knock down 4 hours of work? Because my problem is half my work is creative and it's half like logical. Like half my work work would be either finding space, depending if it's for Wolf. If it's for Wolf, it's just finding new speakers and building relationships and doing more spaces, I guess. But for myself, just like thinking of content, creating the scripts for them, getting them edited, posting them, and things like that. I would say, yeah, getting better at locking in for sure. And I think this is a byproduct of that. But figuring out exactly what I want to even talk about, that's why I'm making this like my first step towards that, which is like, what am I even doing here? Like right now, me and Sam are working on our personal X accounts. We're just going to grow, and our LinkedIn, well, all our platforms, but specifically X and LinkedIn. We just think that's the highest ROI. And I'm like, okay. I mean, in the beginning, it was reviewing and trying to understand the crypto world, the NFT world. It was a new, novel concept. Nobody knew where it was going. I didn't know where it was going. I thought it'd be cool. And now I'm here in Bitcoin. It's like, do I just talk about Bitcoin? Bitcoin's not exactly novel. I don't know who exactly my target audience is anymore. I'm already working at Wolf. Like what am I making content about exactly? Like I believe that Bitcoin is the best investment you could make. Cool. There's like a few characteristics I could keep talking about, but everyone who's in the industry already knows them. So like, what do I just keep reiterating top points about Bitcoin that have been molded over for 16 years now? I don't know if that's really compelling for me or anybody else to watch. Okay, crypto. I'm like, well, I don't really believe in the majority of these projects anymore because they're not novel. I've seen the, like the tide went out and everybody was naked. It was one of those kind of things where I watched the NFT market just, I put all this trust and faith in these people and they were retards. And I was like, what? It's like, hold on. You guys got how many millions of dollars and you didn't do anything with it? I'm like, dude. So with crypto, there's a lot of that going on in this industry. In the stock world, there's a lot of those things as well. But in crypto, it's bad because it's unregulated. And so it's like, what am I going to talk about this thing that's probably not going to work? My excuse last time was I didn't know it was not going to work. And honestly, most of them did work. And so that's why I didn't mind, because I was like, well, most of these are going up anyway. I'm just doing reviews on like a lot of the better ones. And then for more speculative ones, we have never seen NFTs before. We don't, like, they might do a 500x. I don't know. They might be around for 10 years. I don't know. Or 10 months or 10 weeks. And so that was like that was the reason I could do a lot of that content a couple years ago, is because I didn't know. But now I'm here. I know better. So I'm like, okay, what do I talk about? Do I talk about that? Like, that's who am I trying to talk to is the CEOs. I don't know. Like, I mean, I always make content to get picked up, to work with a company just like Wolf and be like, okay, cool. Here I am. The strategy worked. The content worked. I'm in. So now, like, I'm in the game. So it's like, okay, I'm in. Everything I did before was to get in. Now what do I do now that I'm here? Like, does the strategy change now that I'm here? Like, if so, what does the strategy change to? Because if it does, it's fine. I'm glad to pivot. I always thought it'd be interesting, to be an X account that's not just a content creator, but is a something, and can now, like, for example, if you are Jeff Park from Bitwise and you're the head of Alpha Strategies, your Twitter is Jeff Park, head of Alpha Strategies at Bitwise. Your content is in context now to your position at Bitwise, because that's what most people are going to follow you for. So I'm like, okay, if I am a Wolf Crypto, one of the biggest spaces hosts in the world, we've been doing this for a year and a half, what can I talk about in that arena? Is it hosting spaces? Is it how to have cool conversations? Like, maybe. I don't know. I guess so. I guess that's a content idea. Pretty small addressable market for that kind of content. Same as before, where I was targeting CEOs and founders, and I made a lot of cool connections from that, from the content I made. Eventually linked me up with Gav from Wolf Financial. So I'm like, okay, maybe the strategy, and I haven't really thought about this. I'm kind of just thinking out loud and doing this on camera, because this is how I've always done it. What needs to change? What is the strategy that needs to adjust? Is there something about the way I'm looking at things that is counterintuitive, that's counterproductive, that's not getting me excited to make more content? Is it just general tiredness because we're at the end of this market? It's been a long market for everybody. What's the internal playbook that we need to roll with here to move on? Where is I'm trying to get to? That'd probably be helpful. I'm at Wolf now. Now my brain's not thinking so much like, what company do I jump to next? I'm a co-owner in Wolf Crypto. It's not really where my brain is. I'm not thinking that. I'm not thinking, what's the next company I can jump to, really, because I think the opportunities at Wolf will probably exceed those of most other companies in terms of existence, because I think Wolf will exist versus a lot of companies. I don't know if they will. It's possible that I could get another job doing content and stuff at another company and make more per month, but I'd be surprised if I found another company with just as, well, I guess that's not true. I feel like that's naive to say almost, but I was about to say I feel like I would not be as impressed with the level of competency that we have in our core team at Wolf. Like, we really do have winners, young too. And I'm like, dude, I feel like what's probably the most bullish ship you could be on is Wolf Financial. And so that's kind of where my head's. I'm sure there are tons of companies and people that are super effective and stuff, but I just know the Wolf guys are. So that's a bit tough. Like, where am I headed? What is like an ideal outcome from the content? I don't know. I'm not my problem is I'm not an expert. I have not been in the markets for 30 years. I don't have 30 years worth of things to say. Like, you throw Dave or Darkside or Thomas, just anything, they can just take it and run with it for 20 minutes. I don't have that kind of understanding and knowledge and experience in the market. So, like, I'm not the guy to go to for like, hey, Kay, like, why don't you break down the last 20 years of economic uncertainty and how this plays into Bitcoin, but more importantly, how it played into the Dow Jones and how these two work and how the bond market works. I'm like, brother, I barely understand that. I'm not that guy. So I'm like, okay, if that's not you and you're not going to make that content, can you make content that highlights other people? Can you repurpose other high-level written content and give them credit? So we did this on LinkedIn. We'll take someone else's content, we'll repurpose it, we'll give them credit at the end. Kind of that we know already performed because it did well. So that could be an option, is that kind of content. I don't know what the goal would be other than just to build a bigger following on X. I mean, my goal was always to find something stable and high paying and fun in the industry. Like I have that now. So now that I've got the position, how do I capitalize on that? Like what can I do that would enhance that? Help me out, help the company out, leave a mark on the industry a little bit more. Like is there anything else that I haven't thought of that I could do more of? So those are some of the things that are kind of swimming around in my brain. Let me pick through some of these, see if there's anything else interesting here. Well, I like this question. What are you currently struggling with that people wouldn't expect? And I feel like this one can be good because it can be extrapolated for everybody. But at 26, I would say I struggle the most with time because it operates and moves differently based on how you look at it. If you zoom out in your last week, your week might have been pretty fast. You're like, wow, another week goes by. But the days might have been slow. You know, like your 5 o'clock to 11 p.m. could be slow, and that could just drag your day. And I would say the biggest thing I struggle with is before I got into the industry and I was making money, which was like basically every year except for last year and this year, I was barely making money. I was just making ends meet. I was getting into the game. I was earning my stripes, all that stuff. And so, yes, I struggled with time, but it was struggling with time in context of the fact that I had not made it and I had no real concrete proof that I was really get anywhere. I was making just enough to pay for rent and like food. Like that was it. I was broke for years. And so now it's like, okay, that is the same thing. These weeks are moving quick and I get paid every week, which is nice. So like it's a good thing. Like the weeks go by quick. But the days sometimes are a little bit slow because there are big periods of time where I know I have time that I could do something. I just don't know what that thing would be. Should it be more exciting than it is? Why are there no ideas coming to my brain? So one thing I will say that I didn't expect to pull from this recording was that the idea of repurposing content that I like, using their content that they already so graciously provided to the internet, I give them credit. They have a new medium for that content to be out. That could actually be really good. And I could make that content for people. Like I could target people who make good content that I want to get connected with, especially if they make good written content. Like if I want to get the attention of Lynn Alden, then the best thing for me to do, because she doesn't follow me, doesn't know who I am, would be to take some of her written content or a tweet that she made and turn it into a video, expand on it in some capacity where she would have no choice. But if she wants to see what was said, she would have to, engage in this 20, 50, 1 minute, whatever, however long the video is. And that is literally how I made my career. That's how I went from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. I locked in deals just like that. I want to get in contact with this CEO to work with this company. How do I do that and make a piece of content that they would want to watch? And so it's like, okay, who would Lynn Alden want to watch? What would she want to see? It's like, I have no idea. Maybe if she has a tweet that seems a little bit out there or a controversial take, maybe I could post a 20-second video about that and pull up some interesting data that maybe she had not considered, or a new thing that popped up that I saw earlier on X. Something where you have the smallest chance of someone like Lynn Alden looking at it and be like, oh, nice. Like, comment. Maybe you do it a couple weeks later. Like, comment, retweet. Maybe get the follow. Whatever. So I think for me, that is something I did not expect to figure out here. What should you do with the time? Because there's Wolf, there's my personal, there's the fact that they're pretty much intertwined no matter what I do, and I'm not mad about that. I think that's great. Okay, new question. How do you stay aligned with your values when things scale or get noisy? For me, like life is very simple right now. It's work, work out, eat, sleep, sit around, do content. Things like there's nothing else there. So the thing that's most important, overarching, is Christ. So it's like I'm not really doing all the things I need to be. I'm not reading the Bible as much as I should be. Definitely not praying as much as I should be. I think I struggle a little bit with Christianity because it's kind of like how I said earlier. Like, I came to the crypto industry to figure out where I'm supposed to put my money. How do I make money? Where do I put it? Now I'm working in the industry, and I know you put it in Bitcoin. So now I'm like, okay, what's the point of sticking around? So like, why bother staying? Should I stay? So with Christianity, it's not like that. It's not exactly like that. I want to stay Christian. But in my head, I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. Like, you need a redeemer. That man's name is Jesus. That guy was real. He was here a few thousand years ago. He did the thing. He fulfilled the prophecies. He is the Lord. You're like, okay, cool. I'm on board with that. Like, that makes sense to me. It logically makes sense to me. It historically makes sense. And spiritually, I'm willing to take that risk and that leap of faith that it is true and he is who he says he is. And so I'm like, okay, what else do I need to do? Like, I get that. Down. Yes. All for it. And then it's like, okay, now pray more often. Contribute to society a little bit. I think that's probably where I falter, because I think that's the trick of business, is that the business world is 24/7. You could theoretically work all day long every day. I know a lot of people who do. Should you? I don't know, dude. I don't know if you're supposed to or not. Like, I guess you're probably, like, if there was a should, you ought to probably go to church every week, to contribute to the church every week. You ought to go on walks in the sun because it's good for your body. You ought to get more sleep. There's a bunch of things we ought to do and should do because they are in line with what you're supposed to do as a good human being. It's just so difficult to do any of those things. I mean, I see this for a lot of people online it's like a thing online where people in the comment section will kind of bond over it. Like, we spend so much time on the internet. Everything feels like an option, and so we never make a decision. And like, that seems to be some kind of meta conclusion that a lot of people are coming to, especially if they spend a lot of time online. And so, man, I don't know. I mean, how do you stay aligned? I don't know if you can. I mean, I think it's just a constant push and pull of... I don't think we're very good at that. I'm definitely not good at that. That's all I'll say. What do you hope people remember about you 10 years from now? What are you doing today to earn that memory? I don't really care about any of those things. I mean, the only thing I could think of would be like my future family. What do they remember you from 10 years ago? It's like, well, I guess that dad grinded in the earlier years a little bit more than the average person. He was willing to take a few extra chances, and he bought a lot of Bitcoin, and great, like, we made it. Like that, I think that will probably be what ends up happening. I'm surprised at how easy and how hard it's been. Like, for me, it's been a relatively obvious decision. Hey, go spend a large chunk of your free time when you're working a job you don't like to figure out a way to not have to work there anymore. That seems obvious. The amount of work that it takes is more and less than I think. I think because I got lucky and edited and did video content for so long, making my own videos, that part I didn't have to teach myself. And I've been watching content for long enough to where I picked up some stuff on how social media people move in the industry and how they stay relevant in these things. So I think that all that kind of stuff that I sponged up was helpful for me. I know I could be doing more, and I see people who do more than me, and so I know that there are levels to the game of putting in work and efforts. I remember putting in a lot of work and effort in 2021 and 2022. The work has become normal for me. Like, having this type of work and then all the things that come with working in crypto, that is all just normal for me. It's been years now. It's been like literally 2021 was my last job. I mean, I had a couple side gigs here and there, just for some stability, but nothing more than once or twice a week. And so I've been in the game for a long time now, for me at least, like a quarter of my life almost. And so I'm like, okay, what do I hope people remember me in 10 years from now? Or what have I been doing? I guess I've just been doing my shit for the last few years, and I will continue to do that. And I don't know if I don't really care if they remember. I guess I'll change this question as we wrap up and think more like, what do I hope I'm doing and thinking about in 10 years from now. So I would be 36 and a half, almost 37. Whoa. Okay, so I'll be like almost a middle-aged man. I feel like you're 40s-ish to 45, you're like middle-aged, which maybe if Brian Johnson gets his wish, that will be nowhere near how old we need to be at middle age. But 45, 40, you're a grown man at that point. Pretty much up until then, I think you've got you're basically like an adolescent man, in my opinion. Like if you're in your 30s, I still think you're mega young. If you're early 40s, you're still mega young. You hit 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, then once you approach like mid 40s, 50 is when you're like, okay, you should really have your shit kind of ironed out at this point. I don't know how long, because I've never lived to that age, how long it takes to get your shit together and stuff. I imagine it's on some level a spectrum, but you should have your shit more on point when you're 50 than when you're 25, in my opinion. I just don't know enough about anything until, but in 25 years, I'm like, dude, 25 years? Like, I was only conscious. Like, I don't even think I was thinking about anything until I graduated college. Like, my brain was just like reacting to stuff and trying to be popular and stuff like that and be good enough. There was no like concrete critical thinking to the level that there is now, trying to figure out my life. It was more just like, I want to be popular. How do I be popular? And how do I play college soccer? That was the only two things on my mind. Never really considered anything else. And so I would say, like, in the next 10 years, once I'm in my late 30s, I think and hope that I am loaded-ish, like doing very well. And I think Bitcoin could be well over $1 million in 10 years. So I think we'll be in a very different world, though. I think the way humans think about work and money and where we store our time will be very different in 10 years. I think if we even get anything close to the aspirations of the tech industry in the next 10 years, it'll be an entirely different world. I mean, I remember watching Ready Player One and movies like Blade Runner 2049 or Ex Machina. Like, those movies are obviously slightly stretching because they're science fiction and they pull all the way down. But the movies are interesting and the concepts are there, right? Like, I don't know if we'll have like to that level in 10 years, but I think at some point we will. I think at the very least we'll have hologram/AI agent things that maybe are living in your glasses that you can see in front of you. I don't think we'll have phones anymore. I think it'll be very, very part of your life. You'll be able to kind of zoom in, just on like you're looking through your glasses, you're just kind of like zooming in and click there. You might even be able to do it without your hand. But I think we will just think about things so differently. I'm just thinking in the last few years how much has changed. The fact that we have gone from a place where it felt like nobody understood money to the housing market crashes. Everyone goes, wait a second, you guys have been cheating this whole time, but it's fine, I guess. To the market coming back, to now everyone looking at the debt in the US and going, dude, hold on, you guys can't just keep printing money. This can't happen every few years. This doesn't make sense. Like, our eggs are literally 4 times the price that they should be. Our money is worth less. And I think over time, the conversation will go less about, hey, like, things are expensive, to like, hey, our money sucks. And it's like a running joke that nothing changes until like the middle-aged white crowd gets involved and they start getting affected. Then things start to change. There's like a thing that people say all the time, which might be true, but I think that will happen. There will be a world where even the white people will be like, what the hell? What is going on? And I think things will look very different from there. And I think tech will look very, very different. And the things I'm thinking about and hopefully working on in 10 years, I hope the top priority is my family. I hope I'm doing some type of content that's talking about the world, something like this, maybe more of a live stream, so potentially back to more of the YouTube style streaming content. Would be good, have my own platform and talk a little bit, I imagine. I'll be honest, I don't know if I can give a great answer for where I hope that I will be in 10 years, but I do think that I'll be doing well and that I'll be healthy and I'll have a family and I'll have a house and truck and like all those things that I don't have right now. I think those I will have. But I have a sneaky suspicion I will still be wrestling with the same kind of questions and thoughts I am today. The context will be changed. The details will be different. but I imagine there'll be some version of there's something going on, there's something that I'm doing. I don't know if I should be. I don't know if this is right. I probably should think about it. In this like moment, I feel like I am always in those. I'm like in the folds always. You know, I'm always. Jordan Peterson said it on a podcast. He says, what does he say? Something like I live on the edges, or something like along those lines. When someone asks him, "Are you Christian or are you not? Are you atheist? Are you in the middle?" And he was like, he's like, I play in the middles kind of thing. And I just don't know what the industry will look like. It's kind of like, okay, here's, let me just say this. So here's kind of how I think about it. There is a world before Bitcoin and AI and all these tech, and there is a world after. This 20-year span we're in is that middle. So for me, it's like, what will life look like? What do you hope, for 10 years from now? I think the world will look so different. But I think we will be wrestling over the exact same questions and thoughts and moral dilemmas, because if you've read the Bible, that is literally the story back to front. I mean, it is the same story. God blesses the people get cocky, they say we don't need you anymore, they get rid of God, society falls apart because we suck, and the cycle repeats. God blesses the people, he restarts. So I think it will probably be very similar things. I think that the majority of people will be suffering consequences of which they don't realize they are the slaughter for. It's kind of like when you have a free app, it's because you and your data is the thing that they're selling. That's why it's free. And so I think there will be plenty of that going on in the tech world, especially in the social media world. I think there will be so many places to suck your attention that will be the main focus. If people don't have things to do, I don't know what the world's going to look like if AI ends up replacing these jobs. I don't know if people just start sitting around all day, if people get put to work. Like, I don't know what the life is going to look like. I just know that I don't want to be beholden to whatever they decide. And so for me, that is the main thing that Bitcoin represents to me, is that it will be your mode of autonomy in a world where you don't have that much. And really only a small subset of the people actually have freedom to move as they please. And it's the people who took their life a little bit seriously and did some hard work and are aiming to be better every single day. And even in that crew of people, I think you'll still get screwed over. As God tested Job, even though he was a good guy, I think this is just life. And we're all pretty much figuring it out for the first times. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I kind of just rambled. I had literally no idea what I was going to talk about, and then I just started speaking, and it just flowed out relatively nicely. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, please leave a comment if you did make it to the end. If you have any thoughts or questions or anything like that, or just want to say what's up, definitely leave a comment if you made it to the end. Like the video, follow me for more, and catch you guys on the next one.